Whether you run a farm or ranch, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to managing for the bottom line. And high cattle prices are no guarantee of a strong balance sheet. Joining us now to talk about the economic outlook for the beef cattle industry is Trevor Amen, an economist with the Knowledge Exchange Division of CoBank. Trevor, thanks for coming back to our show.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
You know, 2014 has been full of lots of highlights for the agricultural and beef cattle industry specifically. Give us your read.
Well, 2014 is shaping up to be a pretty incredible year in terms of high prices and record profitability up and down the supply chain. And these high prices have been supported by tight supplies and really amplified by stronger than expected consumer demand. So the biggest beneficiary of these marketplace dynamics has been the cow-calf producer, with 2014 average annual profitability per head estimated around $500 per head is pretty unprecedented. Another highlight from 2014 is record crop production, which will guarantee adequate supplies moving forward and keep that cost of production lower than what we've seen in the past several years. And, combining all of these favorable economic conditions with some help from Mother Nature really provides exciting times for the beef business.
So those are certainly some of the highlights. What about some of the challenges you've seen?
Well, volatility and uncertainty among the marketplace's ability to sustain these high prices, I think, is on the top of mind of everyone in the business. And that will ultimately hinge on the strength of consumer demand moving forward, and along with volatility requires a proper risk management strategy to be in place and a really strong relationship with your lender. And also, another lingering challenge is the drought. Most of the U.S. is seeing dramatically improved pasture and range conditions, but there's still a couple regions of the U.S. that are still facing that challenge.
So look ahead for us for just a moment, and what do you see in 2015 for the beef cattle industry?
Well, we can be certain that supplies of almost all classes of cattle are going to remain tight. This will be supportive of the feeder cattle side of the business. Competition will remain fierce from feed yards to secure the supply of cattle to fill their pens, and also from the packers to source enough cattle to efficiently operate their plants. So those margin operators are faced with potentially some unfavorable supply-demand economics, and will looking forward into 2015, potentially looking at some margin squeeze on those sectors of the business. We also know that the feed availability situation is looking great into 2015, lowering the cost of production. So overall, a great outlook in terms of profitability and running a business.
I know your analysis doesn't just stop at the farm gate, Trevor. What do you see in terms of consumer demand and how that's changing?
Well, 2014 has been an incredible demonstration of extremely resilient consumer demand. When you look at retail prices for August, they were up 17% over a year ago, and that's a 7th straight month of record high beef prices. On the food service side of the business, the Restaurant Performance Index for August was up 1% over July, and that represents 18 months straight of that index being above 100, which represents expansion in that side in the restaurant business. So another factor that's positive for the restaurant business is the overall improvement of the U.S. economy. And when you start to look at different income groups, that higher income, more affluent purchaser at restaurants is those households with greater than $100,000 income. And that segment is growing, so that's positive news for the beef industry and the restaurant business.
So where do you see us in terms of rebuilding this cow herd, and what does that mean in terms of beef supply down the road?
Well, another factor, moving forward is competing protein prices. We look at the ability for the pork and poultry industries to ramp up supply quicker than the beef industry. So expected slight increases in supply of pork and poultry into 2015, and that will pressure beef in terms of price and demand limiting factors. So as we look at the cow herd, we're starting to see early indications of herd rebuilding today. And when you look at figures such as cow slaughter that's expected to be down about 14% and heifer slaughter down about 7.5%, we're starting to see that happen. Now, moving forward, if this trend further develops, along with the combination of a favorable feed situation, adequate rainfall, and strong demand holding there, we're looking out into 2017 before we really see any of today's decisions turning into an increase in meat supplies.
Very good. Thank you so much for your perspective.
Thanks, Kevin.
To find out more about farm credit, visit the website farmcredit.com.